guys, welcome back to day 2 of PyWorks' Intro to Python workshops. Today our first concept is math symbols. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have done math before. Actually, I'm guessing all of you probably have. So in Python, there are ways that you can do the basic for math kind of operators. First off, let's start with the plus sign for addition. We kind of tested this out a little during our last session, if you remember, but let's try it again with num1 variable, and we can set that equal to 8, 8, and num2, which we can set equal to 2 for now. Now, if we wanted to print num1 plus num2, 8 plus 2, we can just print num1 plus num2, run it, and we get 10, which is 8 plus 2. So that's how you do addition. Next up, we want to be able to do subtraction. Oh, and this might seem obvious to some of you, but no matter what the values of these variables are, our addition will work properly. Alright, let's put it back to 8 and 2 for now. But now let's try subtraction. Let's print num1 minus num2. And over here, the operator for subtraction is just the minus sign or the hyphen. I'm afraid that looks a little confusing, so let's change this to colons for now. But now we do 8 minus 2, which is in fact 6. And that is how you subtract. Now let's try out multiplication. Now, this is where the symbols get a little not so intuitive. First off, we have the asterisk that you get when you do Shift and 8 on most computers for multiplication. And now, if we tried to print num1 times num2, we would get the product of both of those. Now, we could do it with 8 and 2 and get 16, but say we wanted to switch up the numbers a little. Let's do num1 equals 10, num2, set that equal to 5. We can do that as well. And we're just changing up the numbers for fun here. But that is the way you multiply in Python. Now, finally, we can divide in Python, and that's the last of the basic for operators. For division, you use this little slash that you get when you press the key with the question mark on it on most computers. But let's try printing num1 divided by num2. Now, when we run this, you guys are going to see that there's something about division that stands out from the rest of these. You see how 10, 6, and 5 are all whole numbers? They don't have decimals after? Well, division does give you a decimal after. And this is very, very important to know, because no matter what division problem you do, whether it doesn't go in evenly, like maybe 9 and 5, or it does go in evenly, like 10 and 5, like we were just doing, it will always, always, always give you, if we print the type of num1 divided by num2, it will always give you a float. While, for example, over here for multiplication or addition or subtraction, we would get an integer. So be careful if you're using a division problem for something and you need your data type to be an integer. If you wanted to, there's a couple ways you can get around this, which we will be going over in a second as well. But that is definitely something to note. Gives output as a float. And then for all of these, output is a string. And I'll just copy paste that right under there too. All right, so those are the basic kind of math operators in Python. Let me get rid of some of these extra parentheses. But yeah, those are the core 4, as I like to say. But now is where things are gonna get interesting, because some of these you might recognize. Like this one I think is pretty easy to recognize for a lot of you. 2 asterisks, so 2 of the multiplication symbol, is how you do an exponent. Now, this is where I'm gonna start actually defining things for you guys. In case you don't know, an exponent is multiplying a number by itself x amount of times. Usually the number you're multiplying itself, the number that you're multiplying by itself is the first number you use, and the amount of times is the second. But let's use some smaller numbers to start off with. So let's set num1 equal to 3, and then let's set num2 equal to 2. So 3 multiplied by itself 2 times, so that would be 3 times 3 would be 9, right? And that's basically what the exponent does. Let's print that out actually. So print num1 double asterisks, so to the power of num2, and that is going to give us a 9. All right, now if we tried a slightly bigger number like 6, so 6 to the power of 2 would be 6 times 6, which is 36. We can even make this number however many times we want it to be. Let's do number 2 equals 3 and number 1 equals 2. So that would be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 4 times 2, which is 8. And that is how you do an exponent in Python. Next up is something called floor division. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys haven't heard of this one. I didn't hear about this until I started learning Python. But basically what it does is it does a division problem, but gives you an integer. Remember up here how we saw that division gives you the number as a float instead of an integer? Oh, I'm so sorry. I meant to say that the output is an integer up here. The output is an int. But remember how the division problem gave the output as a float versus everything else, which gave it as an integer? Now, floor division is going to give you an integer for your problem as well. So let's say we set num1 back to 10 and num2 back to 2. Let's try a division problem with floor division. So now if we do num1 and then floor divided by, so 2 division symbols, floor divided by num2, we would just get 5, which works out. Because over here, I think we did 10 and 5. Let's do 10 and 5 for better comparison. But we get 2, and let me get rid of that too. But we get 2 versus 2.0, which at first glance, that seems really helpful. Why doesn't everyone just use floor division instead of regular division? Well, the reason for that is that even if you have a really, really big decimal, so let's say you did a floor division problem. Let me just delete this. Let's say you did a floor division problem that got you like 9 divided by 5. That's 1.8, and most humans would round 1.8 up to 2, right? Well, floor division actually just chops off the decimal. It doesn't even take a look at it. So it could be 1.999999999 forever and ever, and floor division will still tell you that that is a 1. So you've got to be really careful with floor division. So let me finish my definition here. Division problem, but gives you an integer, chops off decimal, does not round. Be careful. All right. Now that is floor division in Python. And now we can move on to our last operator of the day. This is also pretty niche. It's called a modulus. Now, modulus is kind of special because what it does is it gives you the remainder of a division problem. So let's do something a little more visual. So say we were doing long division. We were doing 5 divided by 3. Now, a lot of you guys probably know how to do this. 3 goes into 5 once. So you subtract 3 and you're left with 2. Now, floor division and division would each start with 1. But what modulus does is it gets you this right here. Oh, that was a bad circle. It gets you this number right here, the remainder. And that is what the modulus delivers. So let's change up num1 and actually, I think our example right now works pretty well. Let's do num1 mod, and for modulus you use the percentage symbol, num1 mod num2. And if we run this, we are going to get 4, because let's remember what num1 and num2 are. Num1 is 9, num2 is 5. Let's try that division problem again then. Let me erase all of this first. But let's do 9 divided by 5. 5 goes into 9 one time, so you subtract 5. Then you get a 4. And so this 4 is what the modulus returns. And that is what the modulus does in Python. Now, this modulus, even though, oh, my bad, that's exponent. This modulus, even though it might seem like, when am I ever going to use this? I guarantee you it's super helpful for divisibility. Because if you want to check the divisibility of something by, say, 2, you want to see if it's even or odd, all you have to do is check if the number mod 2 or the number mod 3 or 7 is equal to 0 or not. And that is a basic overview of math symbols in Python.